The Financial Times has today named Donald Trump as its Person of the Year. I'm here with Lionel Barber, the FT's editor, to discuss that decision. So Lionel, it's only about a month since just before the US election, and we ran an editorial talking about Donald Trump's unprecedented arrogance, his fatal flaws, his total unreadiness for prime time. Now he's Man of the Year. What's happened here? Has the FT jumped on the Trump train?
We have not jumped on any train, let alone the Trump train. The fact is that by any stretch of the imagination, Donald Trump has had a bigger impact on American politics and potentially looking at the world than any other figure. There were one or two others that we toyed with. It's been a big year for Narendra Modi in India and quite a big year for Nigel Farage, who arguably is the godfather of Brexit. But I think in general, looking at this in historical terms, Donald Trump's upset win in November and the potential in his presidency is such that he has to be Person of the Year.
So this isn't necessarily an endorsement of a kind. It's not saying that we now approve of him.
We do not support Donald Trump's his positions, his describing NATO as obsolete, his personal invective, the way he belittled opponents, more seriously, the way he questioned the legitimacy of the American political system, even the result, when he said, actually, I could have won the popular vote if there hadn't been cheating in California. This kind of thing, I think, has done a great deal of damage to American democracy. However, not quite applying the Hitler test, as in Time magazine. He isn't. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about historical impact.
And how can we judge what he's done so far, and what do we think we can expect in the next year?
Well, the way I look at it is it's two sides of a coin. The positive side, at least in the short term, is the economic policy. Trump is a big borrower and a big spender, and there's a lot of anticipation that he's going to get tax reform through Congress, he's going to have a big infrastructure program, may even get Democratic Party votes. And the stock market is already swooning. A lot of people have made a lot of money in the last few weeks, including, incidentally, some of his potential cabinet appointees. But the big question is foreign policy, and it's a blank page. And already, arguably, he's misstepped. He's raised the stakes on Taiwan, suggesting that maybe he wants to revisit the two countries, one nation policy. This is very, very risky.
对此表示严重关切。我想强调的是，台湾问题事关中国的主权和领土完整，涉及中方核心利益。坚持一个中国原则是发展中美关系的政治基础。
And also, in general, he's adopted language which is akin to the selfish superpower, not the kind of enlightened America that we've come to know.
And he's got obviously a fairly pro-Russia stance, and appointed a number of people who share that stance. As you look to next year, obviously the Republicans having won, they've won both houses, they're minded to give him a fair wind. How long does this peace within the Republican Party last? Do you see Congress giving him a hard time over some of these nominations?
Well, let me just point out and underline that what Donald Trump has said about the national security's assessment of Russian interfering in the presidential election, CIA's report, that really is highly questionable and worrying. If you start carrying on a war against your own intelligence agencies before you've even got into the Oval Office, that's not a good sign. Regarding the Republican Party, I think that there's an uneasy truce at the moment, and the party which shuffled behind Donald Trump, people like Paul Ryan, the Speaker, they will now try to work with him. But I would make a bet that at least one of the major nominations of Donald Trump will fall in the Senate in confirmation hearings. It often happens. So I think reasonable cooperation at the beginning, but some question marks medium term.
The last two-time winner of the FT's Person of the Year award was George W. Bush.
Yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't remind me of that.
Well, I felt
I wasn't editor, by the way.
No, absolutely. What does Donald Trump need to do to become a two-time winner?
He needs to show that there is, if you like, responsible Trump. Now, that could be an oxymoron. I'm not so sure. I think the real question for me as an America watcher is, does the man change in office? Does he grow? Or does he just behave in the same way that he's behaved as a businessman and as a candidate, where there were many, many worrying traits? If you look at the American Constitution, if you look at what the Founding Fathers said about the respect for minorities, so far the man hasn't lived up to the right standard. The question is, does office transform him?
Lionel, thanks very much. Certainly a conversation we weren't expecting to have this time last year. And you can find out all about the FT's nomination of Donald Trump at ft.com.